Full Circle Phenomenal. Be sure to check out our website and subscribe for more videos.
What's up, Flomies? Jesse Hart here. Welcome to the Full Circle Phenomenal channel, and welcome to the archaeological ruins overlooking Pisac. Catherine and I spent a few months here training some new fire spinners. There we go. Yeah, perfect.
And turn.
Yeah.
Ask us about our 3-week Learn to Fire Spin training regimen.
And got to perform here for the inauguration of their plaza down there. We also recently recorded one of our fire spinning choreographies done up right here on the ruins themselves. Check it out. We're going to cover a lot today, as this video is going to cover everything that's going to be fundamental in order to grow your Poi Flow Arts skills to a very high degree. I'll provide a menu for you right here so that you can jump around at your leisure, or if you're not able to cover the whole of the lesson, you can come back to one of the sections on a later day. Without further ado, let's get started.
If you don't have practice poi, get a pair of long tube socks or stockings, put a tennis ball or a balloon filled with rice in each, and tie 1 or 2 knots at the sock openings for handles. Check for equal length. Let's increase our learning curve and decrease our injury potential with a warm-up. Let's start with our wrists. Interlace your fingers and press the palms together and slowly trace out infinity loops, leading with the thumbs, breathing steadily in through your nose and out through your mouth, consciously moving and breathing all together. If we can train ourselves to do this instinctually, we're always going to keep our frustration levels down, our tension more relaxed. Let's increase those infinity loops, becoming a little bit bigger with the arms getting more action. We're constantly breathing and moving together. That's going to help our bodies open and expand, our nervous system to grow. Let's go extend those infinity loops into really big arms extended figure 8 infinity loops. Slow it down and then trace it back in the opposite direction. Pinky side of the direction now. Big infinity loops. I suggest timing your breath with the motion. If you become confused with this direction, go back to what you're used to, leading with the thumbs, and trace back your steps. This is actually our first training in a new motor skill we'll be covering in the reverse cross points section. Still breathing in the nose, out the mouth, getting smaller and smaller with those infinity loops until you're rotating just around the wrists. Full attention on what you're feeling. And then release and gently shake out side to side and up and down. Not whipping the wrists, but just being attentive. Now we're going to cup the wrists and the hands as if over a pipe. We're going to inhale back and exhale over the top of the pipe and forwards. Inhale back, exhale over the top and forwards. Pulling the wrists in, pressing the wrists out. Keep flowing like that for a few breaths. Notice how the wrists are feeling. You should feel a little bit of pressure, a little bit of stress. Then, holding the fingers down, let's inhale and open up the fingers to the sides, exhale together and up. Rotating around the wrists and whole arms, twisting open on the inhale, twisting closed and up on the exhale. Through our creating manual conscious tension in the body, we're going to be able to remain that much more relaxed and at ease. So shake them out, shake those arms out side to side and up and down. Then we'll plant the elbows into our sides and rotate the hands in big circles, breathing in as they move up, breathing out as they go down. Lubricating the elbow joints, you're really going to want to pull those arms to the sides and back on the inhale, and then exhale, relax down. Inhale through the nose is to draw in more conscious awareness and attention to the pressure or the stress. The exhale is the opposite. We're going to release it. Let's switch directions, still inhaling on the up and the out, exhaling on the down and in. Putting a lot of conscious energy and oxygenated blood into those arms, into the cracks and crevices. This is what helps fill your body with life force energy. Let's shake out those elbows up and down, side to side, wiggle them loose, and let's go into the shoulders. Inhale forwards and up, scrunching to the ears. Exhale back and down, full release down the sides. Pulling it in and letting it go. Keep flowing like this in one direction for a few breaths before reverse direction. Inhale back and up, and exhale forwards and down. Good, now shake it out, loosen everything up, bounce out the shoulders, look from side to side. Then let's really get into the shoulders now. Inhale and bring your right arm straight up in front of you with your left arm straight behind you. Coming up, facing forwards, and then bring it down the opposite direction. Notice how I'm rotating my hands, big circles, but in opposite directions. It can be a little confusing here. We're growing another flow art skill. This is going to be getting into your extensions, not in this video, but in a video to come. We're inhaling as we bring the arms up, exhaling as we bring the arms down, going in one direction for a few times, and then switching the direction, just reversing. I'm showing you a version, both from the sides as well as from straight on. Mirror me as you wish, just keep that breath flowing and the body moving. And remember, we're stretching our lungs here, all the way in on the inhale and all the way squeezed out on the exhale. The more breath we can get into ourselves, the more loose and open our minds and our bodies are going to be. Let's shake it out gently from side to side, twisting with relaxed arms, letting the arms flop from side to side, looking as far over each shoulder as possible. Still timing our breath. I know when we're getting into new motions, as I'm showing you here, pivoting on the toes, getting the twist all the way into the leg, we tend to hold our breath, which causes a restriction in our muscles, in our tendons and tissues and nervous system,
which causes us frustration and apprehension.
Now pivoting on the heels, getting an opposite twist in that leg, side to side, body's relaxed. Great, now let's shake it out, full body shake out, shaking out the legs, hips, torso, neck, head, all loosened up. Good, now let's get into the neck, rotating the neck around from side to side, exhaling, chin down, inhaling, looking up over one shoulder, not rolling the head back yet, as I'm going to show you how to properly do that, but just getting into the neck a little bit, loosening it up, rolling it around from side to side, and then inhaling and pulling that crown up towards the sky and shoulders pressing down away from the crown, creating space in those upper vertebrae, and then exhaling down as usual, chin across the chest. We'll do a few times in this direction, making space, really breathing in and out, and then switching direction. Go back the other way, still inhaling, crown to the sky, rolling one ear to the opposite shoulder, and then exhaling, chin to chest, rolling the other ear back to the original shoulder. We're really looking to clear the neural pathways between our head and the rest of our body. So now let's interlace our fingers and bring it behind the head. Inhale, open up the chest to the sky, and exhale, not pulling your head down, but using the weight of your arms to gently peel your spine down. Inhaling through the nose, holding wherever you're at, exhaling out the mouth, relaxing, releasing, and peeling down even further. Do this repetitively until your head is all the way down as far as it'll go. Feel this in your back, not just your spine, but all the way in through your back. Really breathe into it, full breaths, coming all the way down. And then relax the arms down and hang in a ragdoll. Let your knees bend. Relax your hips, your torso, neck, head, shoulders. Cross the arms and gently sway from side to side. Keep the eyes open, let the blood rush to your head. It might be a little uncomfortable, but just keep breathing. Shaking side to side and then bobbing forwards and back. Really releasing those arms, shoulders, and neck. We're going to shake out the head now. Big yeses, focusing particularly on the neck. Big yeses with the head. And then big nose, shaking the head out side to side. Put the two together into an infinity 8 wobble. Looping from side to side, you might make an ellipse or a circle, whatever feels comfortable for you. A couple times in one direction and then reverse the direction. Take a big breath in and exhale, let it all out and down, let the arms hang. And then we're going to inhale and come into a frog squat. So bring the knees to the outside, open up the low back, chest, and chin. And then exhale, forward fold, lift those hips high, straighten the legs, and pull your chest into your legs with your hands. Ragdoll, inhale, peel up the spine. Stretch out the hands wide and pull the knuckles back as you exhale, back bend. All the way back, and then inhale up, thumbs over closed fists, pull the knuckles back down to the ground, and up and overhead, stretching the shoulders. Then softly release them back to the earth. And let's repeat. Inhale, frog squat, opening up, low back, chest and chin, full lungs. Exhale, big long leg, forward fold. Relax and ragdoll, and inhale, peel up. Stretch out the hands, pull the knuckles back, open up those wrists, and exhale, big back bend. Inhale, flexing from the pelvis and lower core, lift up. Inhaling, thumbs over closed fist. Exhaling, pull the knuckles down, stretching the wrists in the opposite direction, all the way up overhead. And we'll go through it one more time. Inhale, frog squat. Exhale, forward fold. Squeeze that low back together. Relax in ragdoll, and ragdoll, inhale, peel up. Exhale, wide-handed back bend, pull those knuckles back, look as far behind you as you can. Inhale, up. Exhale, thumbs over closed fists, pull the knuckles down, back and overhead. Relaxing back and coming into a standing position. Centering our energy and becoming still and relaxed, receiving the rebound of all those breaths and stretches we just did. Make sure today that you have a good standing posture, even amount of pressure in both feet, with the knees slightly bent, the pelvis tucked under and forwards, the navel in and up, the chest up, and the crown up towards the sky, long spine. Shoulders back and down, arms relaxed. Hold this posture, keep the breath flowing, and let's pick up our prop. Remember that each one of these skills is vitally important to master. So let's start with basic pendulums, or getting in touch with the weight of the prop, wrapping up one hand so that we're still getting in touch with the weight in that arm, and the other arm will have the poi extended out, and just begin to pendulum it from side to side, whatever form or fashion you would like. The point here is not learning new tricks or growing in control so much as just getting in touch with the prop as an extension of ourselves. And this is the key here. The more your brain tells you this is an object that must be forced into submission in order to flow, the harder it is for you to really truly learn your flow art skills. We actually want to feel this prop both side to side and forwards and back, and get used to it, just as you don't notice the weight of your own hand relative to any other part of your body, right? Unless it's injured, you don't really notice it. So we want the same to be with our poi. We want to notice it, but have it feel super natural, applying just the right amount of energy so that it doesn't flow overhead or flop around, but maintains a consistent, gentle pressure in the hand, wrist, and arm. See if at the peak of the pendulum you can get the tether flat with the earth. Let's switch hands now. Flat with the earth, side to side, as well as forward and back. See if you can breathe with the motion and notice the weight shift in each one of your feet. As remember, this is an extension of ourselves, so the whole body should be moving here. So it'll feel really unnatural if you just move your arm and the prop together. So shift your weight side to side and think about moving from your waist and then that echoing out into your arm. Using the breath steadily will smooth out the motion and solidify the muscle memory of this. So the more that you can consciously breathe and notice what you're doing, the faster you're going to learn. The less attention you give to your mistakes and the more mental focus that you apply to your visualizations of what you want to do, which could be as easy as putting your head on my body, for instance, and just feeling it empathetically through your body, I'm not kidding you, will really help with your practice. Let's go into the basic spin, officially titled an orbit. We're just going to pendulum side to side and do one orbit, one rotation, one spin, just like that, going in the same direction, just so you can really build the muscle memory and then go back in the opposite direction, not going chaotically one direction to the other. Consciously choose which way you're going to flow your prop and give your full attention to that one rotation. Notice the feel, and then maybe do a couple of rotations after you've mastered just one. A couple rotations in one direction a few times, and a couple rotations in the opposite direction a few times. Bring your attention back and forth to each one of these directions, still focusing on your breath. I'm going to keep reminding you of this because I know you're going to hold it a few times. Going side to side and then forwards and back. We'll be experiencing these two here soon as the wall and hall plane. We're just experimenting with one poi right now, so we're not overly focused on that, just mostly focused on getting those spins down and keeping the planes nice and flat. You'll see how with my arm extended straight along with my wrist, that creates for a nice even plane shape, whereas if I'm flexing my arm and my elbow or wrist is bent, it's going to bend the plane, going to be harder to control. Alright, so we finished that one side spinning, one hand down. Let's get the other hand, other poi, spinning once in one direction, once in the other direction. Doing your best as always to just apply the right amount of energy to get the job done. No more, no less. So a couple times in one direction, a couple times in the other direction. I often like to say that you only really need to repeat a trick twice or put in the motion twice to build that muscle memory with control, rather than recognize that you definitely have a shelf life. If you keep spinning that poi or keep performing a trick that you're not used to, over time it's going to get harder and harder to control as you have to apply more and more mental energy and more physical energy. Whereas if you just do it a couple of times, your body will pick up that muscle memory, and before you know it, you'll be able to perform it dozens of times with minimal effort. And this is what we're doing our best to train our bodies into, being able to do this practice effortlessly. To challenge yourself, practice keeping an even tempo. Next section is cross points, or moving the poi from one side of the body to the other. Let's grab an object. I'll just pick up a rock here, and it's going to be a focal point, something we're going to put right on the ground in front of us, just a few feet or a couple meters right out in front of us, and we're going to have that be our mid cross point. You'll notice that the body is symmetrical, so if you draw a line up the mid all the way through, these are all of our cross points. This is the area that the poi has to go across in order to come to the opposite side of the body. So I keep my eyes focused on that non-moving point on the ground to get the poi spinning forwards. Then I'm going to practice hitting that, or seeing it go in between my sight and the object itself, and bring it over to the opposite side of the body, still spinning it forwards and crossing it back again, hitting that same cross point spot. And you can choose different cross points. We're going to be experimenting here, some closer, some further away. Give yourself time just to kind of configure and notice what that felt like, revisualize it. Now I'm going to pick the camera as my focal point, as my cross point. I hit it going in one direction, and I hit it going back in the opposite direction, making an X shape or an infinity loop, going back and forth as frequently as you like, but remember, just do it a couple of times and take a break. Tracing that infinity loop now, going back and forth, hitting that cross point that you may miss a few times, but no sweat. Pick a cross point that's up high now. Focus on one that's far away and see if you can still hit it with your arm lifted up. And the reason why we're really focusing on solidifying this cross point is it's going to help you to guarantee and start to know when the poi is in the danger zone, i.e. you're going to hit yourself. If you master these cross points, of course, with both hands, you're going to steadily over time realize that you don't have to get hit. You don't have to lose control or lose focus of the poi. Your body's muscle memory knows where to put it, just the same as you don't hit yourself with your hand repetitively. You know where it is in space. So this is our first practice in really understanding where the poi is in space. Practicing a low cross point, a mid cross point, and a high cross point or a far one. Notice how I move rhythmically and softly. I do this so that I can feel the whole of this experience. Let's slow it down to half speed so you can bring some particular attention to my wrists. A lot of people are challenged with this cross point in one way or another. So notice my wrists open to close. This is where the motor skill is primarily being built. People aren't necessarily used to moving the wrist in these ways. Now let's take it back in the other direction with reverse cross points. Just like the warm-up with the wrists, we're tracing now with our pinky fingers, going from open with the wrist to closed with the wrist. So study this motion and be sure that you can do it with both hands, your dominant hand as well as your non-dominant. Now let's practice plane changes. So as we turn the poi with the cross point, we also turn the body. So choose a way and get used to going forwards and back, hitting that cross point and turning the body 90 degrees at the same time. Turning the opposite direction is easy. You don't have to hit that cross point, but nonetheless get used to turning, and in time we'll learn how one of the poi is always going to hit a cross point as we turn 90 degrees. Be sure to do both hands before moving on to the next section, which is going to be both poi at the same time. Take a break when needed to let your nervous system recover, else we're going to go into double pendulums in the hull plane. Just like we started this lesson with one poi, now we're going back through it with both poi. Breathing steadily, noticing how the body moves differently with both poi than with just one. I kind of bob my knees and just do a little push, not too much or else they go out of control. Nope, that won't work. Just like in a swing set, you pull back a little bit and you push forwards a little bit. Start slow with it closer to the ground, less pendulum, and then go higher and higher until you're able to get it horizontal, parallel with the ground, and then side to side. Double pendulums in the wall plane now, pretending as if you had a wall in front of you and you have to keep the poi flat in between you and the wall without hitting either. Now I'm back to shifting weight from left to right, getting in touch with my breathing, getting in touch with what it feels like to have both poi, one poi in each hand. Can't really give your attention so much to both of them at the same time, you'll find, but you can feel this rhythm. Now let's do double forward spin in the hull plane. Remember, only just once or twice, maybe 3 times, but then give it a break and notice what that felt like. Visualize yourself doing it correctly, as this is the key to flow arts, not just practice, but seeing yourself doing it right and interrupting yourself where you're visualizing yourself making mistakes or making those mistakes, flow right past them. In fact, you might even try continual flow even if you hit yourself or make a mistake, and go right into the trick or whatever it is you're focusing on. So we want to keep our wrists low near the hips, because when we start flexing and bringing up, we lose control, get the body tense, probably hit yourself. So breathe, relax, and lower those wrists down to about the level of the hips. And seriously, if you can catch yourself tensing up as repeatedly as possible and get your body to relax, you're going to learn a lot faster and not get injured. All right, now let's go in reverse. So switching the direction, reverse, same time, both poi going at the same time, just the same as we were going forwards, same time. We're just going a few times in reverse, stop, collect what you did, and repeat. Building that muscle memory comes through a few repetitions. And let's take a quick moment now to focus on our directions, forwards and reverse, as I find this is something that's actually quite challenging for some people. Consider the wheels on a bike or a car, and which way would the car be going if you're going in the forwards direction or the reverse. Help this become solidified in your muscle memory, and then track them going back and forth, reciting to yourself forwards and then reverse. This is a fundamental awareness we'll be needing moving forwards.
Now let's track some double pendulum and spins side to side in the wall plane, focusing on spinning in one direction, up and to the left, let's say, or clockwise or counterclockwise, and up and to the right. If you have a hard time with your non-dominant hand, go back to focusing on just that one. I find that a lot of people not only have a challenging time with the reverse cross point in their non-dominant hand, but also in just the plain wall plane with their non-dominant hand. Though this practice is just about taking baby steps over time, making leaps and bounds in no time. No matter who you are, where you are, this is great for your overall health, enjoyment of life, as well as meditation and just taking time to yourself. So recognize that that's what this practice is truly about. And put that smile on your face. Be happy as you flow this basic stuff. As I said, the more you focus on what you want to do, the faster you're going to learn, as well as double that time by forgetting about your mistakes or just flowing past them. So we're flattening out that wall plane with a few spins, moving into mastering planes, making your wall and hall planes perfectly flat. You'll want to find a wall, a pole, or a tree and put yourself between about 1.5 feet or half a meter apart to begin practicing really refining that wall plane. Starting with just a basic pendulum, a simple single spin in one direction, with your wrist as low or lower than your hip, totally relaxed arm, going back and forth, doing 2 or 3 spins once that gets comfortable, and maintaining that super flat plane. Once one hand has been done, let's do the opposite hand. And it's quite easy, I find, to keep a flat plane with one hand. It's only once you start doing it with both hands that your non-dominant hand tends to take up some excess energy, get tensed up, and then starts to bend the plane. If you're struggling at all with it, what you can do sometime is force some extra energy and give all of your conscious attention breathing into one hand, into one muscle memory. And even telling yourself, this is how I want it to be done. This is how flat I want it. Communicate with your body language instead of getting down on yourself for mistakes made. So back and forth, continuing with both hands, penduluming, spinning in one direction, spinning in the opposite direction, one time or multiple times, experimenting, but continuing to stay conscious and make choices before you put the poi into action, so you know what to expect, you know what you're going for. If you find that you're not making very much progress, even though you're practicing, instead of using a wall, a pole, or a tree, use a person. Now granted, you're going to be much more motivated to keep your planes flat if you keep just that 1.5 feet of space in between you and another person. When you start to get it, go low as well as go high and see if you can keep those planes still nice and flat before moving on to a hall plane one at a time. Focusing just on that right hand, spinning it forwards, spinning it backwards a few times with control and as little energy as possible, focusing on your breath and posture. Even though all these small basic steps seem to be a little bit tedious, trust me, they're very necessary, as almost all of our tricks from here on out will function off of these basic fundamental techniques. Let's do the other hand now. Rotating, penduluming, orbiting, whatever way you want to move the poi between yourself and that wall, that tree, pole, or person, and studying it because you are building up memories, muscle memories. Then practice doing the hall plane with both hands and transitioning into the wall plane, turning 90 degrees at a time and continuing in that circle, preparing what's going to be the final trick, which is the 4 directions. But just practicing in 3 directions for now, turning towards the wall, one hall, and the other hall plane, which you'll notice then becomes like the poi are going backwards, even though it's you who've turned 180 degrees. We'll cover more about this here in just a moment, turning 90 degrees at a time, but for now, let's really hone in on mastering our hall plane with both poi. Now I've picked a particularly narrow hallway, really just a doorway here at the Incan Ruins, to challenge myself. As you'll see here, I'm going to hit that wall a couple of times. But then I just really focus in, I picture what it is I'm going for, I flow right through my mistakes, keep my breath going. Here it is in 0.5 speed, looking really good. There's pretty much just enough space between me and that wall. So as you can see, this really helps to flatten out our hull plane. The more we challenge ourselves, have fun, your body knows that it doesn't want to hit you. It knows it doesn't want to hit the other object. So all you have to do is keep flowing, and eventually it will set itself and you'll get really familiar with whatever position you put yourself in. Turning towards one of those walls, flowing back into that hull, flowing right through the little mistakes, going to the other side. You'll notice each wall will seemingly be going in different directions, even though the poi never actually changed direction. Okay, so we have been working with the regular same timing, and now we're going to move into a different timing called split time, which is 1 2 1 2 1 2. Notice how my hands, the poi, are evenly spread apart. If you are challenged with this, try going one hand forwards and one hand back, almost like a locomotive, like a train, and then tightening it up, making the circles with your hands smaller, and then down by your hips with relaxed arms. Back to same time. It's easy to get into a rhythm, so we force that rhythm out, move into a split time, a hard split time, and get smaller, 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 more and more relaxed, less and less energy until we've got it. Then reverse. Reverse same time into reverse split time. Starting off with the big rotations and counting off in your head 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Smaller and smaller, keeping that same rhythm but speeding up the tempo with the hands down, arms relaxed. Very important that you get this. This is going to be key for a lot of tricks coming up. So make sure it's solidified in your muscle memory. Do the exact same thing a few times and make sure you can split between same time and split time. If it's really still challenging you, wrap up the poi. No problems in not using the poi and just getting used to the hand motion, slowing it down, tightening it up, visualizing it working out right for you instead of what you're struggling with. This is such a key. I can't stress it enough. Visualizing what you want to have happen, practicing it, embodying it. That's also what the warm-up is for, to clear our minds, to clear our nervous system of anything that's not serving us. And if that's something you'd like to get more skilled at, we have playlists of yoga, qigong, and meditations down in the video description. Now for the 4 directions, turning in a circle 90 degrees at a time. It's all been worked up for this, so we're going to turn either to the left or to the right, hitting one of our cross points. The way that you turn, you're going to do the opposite hand cross point, moving from the hull plane and picking out that cross point spot, noting where it is, hitting it, and then taking a step into your first wall plane. We might as well just come back the way we came, hit that same cross point, come back to where we started, and back again, going back and forth, and just this 190-degree turn, mastering it. If you're struggling with that cross point, really over-enunciate it. Feel the motion of that top to bottom, half of an X diagonal, and then move it together. Harnessing all your energy into just one focal point and then trusting in the muscle memory of the other hand. Let's do the other side. So cross point with the left hand, doing that 90-degree turn together. Notice how they're same time, I move them together. One hand does a cross point and one hand just moves back a little bit, back a little space behind me to make space to make sure that the poi aren't too close if you start going into split time, that they don't hit. Mastering one side and the other, turning 90 degrees at a time, stepping back and forth. And now let's complete the full circle, going 90 degrees at a time, turning to your left to start, and then with the reverse cross point, we're going to backhand kind of uppercut from bottom to top, do that cross point and turn, and then come back to the side. Notice how the poi are still going up and towards the camera, but since I'm facing away from the camera, the poi seem to be going in reverse. And they are going in reverse. Let's keep going around. Opposite hand cross point,
and then cross point, once again coming back to front. Once we've got it 4 directions going in one direction, clockwise or counterclockwise, let's reverse it and go in the opposite direction. I'll slow it down for you here to half speed, just so you're absorbing that muscle memory with your mirror neurons. Notice that cross point with my left hand and then the cross point with my right hand, turning, giving attention to those wrists. If you need to, rewind this and go over it again. This is the key trick. This is what we've been working up towards. Here's a view from the side, going into my wall plane, turning again into the hall plane, going in reverse to the other wall plane, and back to the original, forward same time, hall plane. Never add too much energy. It is actually quite easy and doesn't require you to force the poi to turn. Once you've got the 4 directions standing upright, try it squatting down low, for instance. Start diversifying and see about how can you modify this trick. Can you do it with your arms straight up overhead? Perhaps the most challenging of the positions. As you can see, my planes aren't perfectly straight there, but I'm able to pull it off. Once you're able to get that, perhaps you go into a split time 4 direction. So not same time anymore, moving into split time, turning 90 degrees at a time, doing that one quick cross point with the arm that's got to turn around to the other side. And you've got it. Great work. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it with others. Support yourself and this channel by sponsoring a video lesson or perhaps becoming a private student. Select one of these video playlists to check out more on our Flow Arts fire spinning, as well as our journey driving around the whole world. We appreciate your presence and participation, so please subscribe, check out more helpful links in the video description, and we'll see you around the world.